Hello everybody, my name is Kara, and today I'm here with a collective book haul from the last couple of months. So these are going to be from various places, like some independent bookstores I went to, a rather excessive book outlet order because I have a problem, and just kind of some bits and pieces that I picked up that I am really excited to read and to show you guys. So the first book I have here is Circe by Madeline Miller, and I won this in a giveaway from the wonderful Rocky Reads. I will link her channel down below in case you guys aren't subscribed to her for some reason. I feel like everyone knows about Rocky and how great she is, but I was so happy to get this. I'm really excited to read this for Retellathon coming up. This is a feminist retelling of the Circe story, or of Circe as a character. She's an enchantress who is one of the characters in the Odyssey, and she's often portrayed as one of the villains, like the obstacles that is standing in the way of Odysseus getting home. And I have just heard such incredible things about this book. I'm so excited to see such a powerful female character kind of revisited as a hero in her own right, rather than just some random side villain in the story of the male character who cheats on his wife every chance he gets. So all of the rest of the books in this haul are ones that I bought myself, and the next book is The Ugly Goddess by Elsa Marston. This book is one that I remember reading over and over and over again when I was younger from the library. I would check this out, I don't even remember how many times, but I finally decided I wanted to reread it, and I think my library actually got rid of their copy. Like, I think when I looked I couldn't find it on their list anymore. So I decided to buy it and reread it, and I'm hoping that I'm going to love it as much as I did when I was younger, if not more. This is a historical fiction novel set in Egypt, and we follow a few different characters, and one of them is this poor kind of shop sweeper named Bata. And one day a statue of the goddess Tauret comes to life, and that really is what sets him on his adventure, and he has to join forces with other characters. There is an Egyptian princess who I remember really loving. There's a Greek soldier as well, and I just remember loving the world and the adventure and all of the characters in this book. And I'm really excited to pick this up again, and I'm always a huge fan of like historical fiction, especially that set in the ancient world, and especially that set in ancient Egypt. Next I have some independent bookstore finds. First is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alire Sanz. I have not read anything by this author yet, and I have heard so many amazing things. I'm really excited to get to this one. I don't really know much about this besides that there is LGBTQ+ representation, and I believe both main characters are also Latinx, and I've heard that the writing is really beautiful, that the family relationships are so well done, and I'm just really excited to finally read something by this author. Next I have Warcross by Marie Lu, and you probably have heard of this one already. I know the sequel is coming out soon or just came out. This is a virtual reality kind of science fiction book, which I normally would not gravitate towards. I'm not really interested in books that are like essentially video games or that follow kind of virtual reality stuff, but I really loved Marie Lu's Young Elites trilogy, and I've heard such good things about this one, and some things about the characters and like the adventure and the heist aspects of this book that I really think I'm going to like it, and I was so excited to find this like beautiful brand new copy at my used bookstore. I think this was actually on Independent Bookstore Day too, so that was a perfect find. Next I have The Falconer's Knot by Mary Hoffman. Mary Hoffman wrote one of my favorite book series, which is the Stravaganza series, and I just happened to come across this one, and when I found that it was in fact the same author, I was like, yes, I will definitely try something else from her. Next I have Dreamer's Pool by Juliet Marillier. This is the first book in the Blackthorn and Grimm series, and I'm still trying to find a Juliet Marillier book that I love as much as Wildwood Dancing. So this one follows a healer who is the main character, and I think they go on this extended trip, and there's another main character who is supposed to marry somebody, and it turns out she might be evil. As you can see, I don't know very much about the synopsis of this one. Next is 13th Child by Patricia C. Reed. Patricia C. Reed wrote one of my favorite fantasy series from when I was younger that I still love, and that is the Enchanted Forest Chronicles. I love those books, but I haven't really read a lot of other things by her. I have read one of her co-written series, and I have read her short story collection, but I recently saw this featured in one of Book Rat Misty's Backlist Love videos, and she mentioned this really interesting fusion of fantasy and Wild West elements, and for some reason that just called to me, and I happened to find this in my used bookstore, so I'm definitely going to give this a try and see how I feel about it. Okay, so now moving into my book outlet order, which as I said was a little excessive, but there were so many books I had been meaning to pick up, and I saw them for a great price, and you guys know how it goes. So first I have Silver in the Blood by Jessica Day George. This is I think it's actually a retelling of of a fairy tale, maybe? I don't know which one, or maybe it's just like it's inspired by folklore, but it's set in Romania, and a couple of my favorite fairy tale retellings or fantasy books incorporate Romanian folklore, so I'm really excited about this one. I've seen kind of mixed reviews, but I think I'm going to really love the sister relationship in this, and Jessica Day George has written the Dragon Slippers trilogy and a couple of other books that I just really, really enjoy. I really like the way she writes fantasy, and especially the way she writes female friendship and like sister bonds, so I'm excited for this one. Next I have The Lost Kingdom of Bamar by Gail Carson Levine. You guys, I was so excited when I found out this book existed. I think this is either, actually this might be a prequel to The Two Princesses of Bamar, and I'm so excited. I'm also so nervous for this because The Two Princesses of Bamar is one of my most beloved books I think I've ever read. I reread it still all the time, and it just guts me emotionally every time in the best way. So I really hope this can live up to that. That's gonna be difficult, but I don't know too much about this one except that our main character Peregrine, I think she finds out that she is actually from Bamar and she's not from the kingdom where she lives called Lakti, and I think she decides to go on a mission to rescue Bamar, something like that. Next is The Truth Commission by Susan Juby. If you guys watch Kathleen from Worth a Thousand Words, I think that's her channel. I will link her down below, of course, as well as all the other booktubers that I mention. But this is one of her favorite books of all time, and it just, every time she talks about it, it sounds so interesting. It's basically, from what I can tell, about a girl whose older sister kind of writes exposés on people in graphic novel format, and then her and her two friends have to like confront her about what she's been writing about people, and I just think it's going to be really, really like interesting and clever, and I don't know, I trust Kathleen's opinion, so I think I'm gonna enjoy this. Next I have The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making by Catherine M. Valente. I actually started reading this a few years ago, like I had a copy from the library, and I think I just wasn't in the mood for it because I put it down after a couple chapters and never picked it up again. But this actually sounds like something I would love. It's like this whimsical, strange, bizarre fantasy. It reminds me a little bit of Furthermore by Tahira Mafi, but even stranger, maybe? I don't know. But I have recently read and really enjoyed Deathless by Catherine M. Valente, so I'm just really excited to start this series, and I think that I'm going to be in the mood for it now when I wasn't then. Next I have Everything Must Go by Jenny Fran Davis. Isn't this a beautiful cover, by the way? So, as you guys probably know, I don't pick up contemporary books quite as frequently as most other genres, but occasionally I find one that's just like really quirky and lovely and wonderful, and that's kind of what this sounded like. From the synopsis, I think it's about a girl who moves across country to follow the boy she's in love with, who lives at a Quaker boarding school, I think. And she wants to be a fashion designer, and this is told in like an interesting format with like diary entries and messages and emails and things like that. I just feel like this is going to be a really unique kind of contemporary book. Also, look at that bright yellow cover. I love the design of this book as well. Next I have Up to This Point by Jennifer Longo. I actually thought this was a graphic novel for some reason. I don't know how I got that into my head, but it's not. It's a book. I think it's about a girl who wants to be a ballerina, and all her life she has trained for that, and then she moves to the South Pole, and from what I've read in reviews, I don't think this is an entirely happy book. I think it's about like learning that sometimes what you want to pursue is not always where your talents or your best interests are, and this is sounding really depressing when I say it out loud, but I think this could be a really powerful book, and I don't think it's going to be completely bleak, so we'll see what happens. Next I have the most beautiful cover mix-up that has ever happened to me, and that is The Never-Ending Story by Michael Ende. I know that's not how you say it in German, but I think that's how you say it in English, and I actually, when I ordered this, it was the cover pictured that was like the normal one. It wasn't a bad cover. It looked appropriate for the story. Kind of fun. I'll insert a picture. But I got this beautiful like masterpiece, and I love it so much. And this is a children's classic that I remember reading a really, really, really long time ago. And I think I liked it, but I have no memory of what actually happens. I don't even know what this is about, except that I think things in books come to life or something. I don't know. Next I have two books by Anne Ursu, courtesy once again of Book Rat Misty and her backlist recommendations videos. I have Breadcrumbs and The Real Boy. Now, Breadcrumbs is, I think, a fairy tale retelling of the Snow Queen, And I think The Real Boy is more of a straightforward fantasy story. I don't want to look up too much about these books. I just want to go in not knowing what they're about and just be surprised by how beautiful and whimsical and wonderful they are. I did read like the first page or so of The Real Boy, and I just fell in love with the writing style, and I'm so excited to get to these. Next, I have Exit Pursued by a Bear by E.K. Johnston. Now, this has a fantastic title. I think it's the best stage direction I have ever come across, and it is from A Winter's Tale by William Shakespeare, in case you don't know, and that is actually how a character exits the play. Exit Pursued by a Bear. And this sounds like it's going to be so gripping and hard-hitting because it is about a girl who is sort of the like model student, like model everything. She is head cheerleader, she's popular, she's smart, she's doing well, everybody likes her, and then one night she gets date raped. And she gets pregnant, and everything starts to spiral out of control for her life because she's in a situation that she's obviously never been in before. People start to treat her differently and think of her differently. And I can't tell from the description if the relationship between Hermione, the main character, and Polly, her best friend, I can't tell if that is a really strong friendship or if it's a really strong friendship that develops into a romantic relationship, but either way, I think it's going to be an incredibly powerful story featuring some wonderful bonds between girls. And also, if you take off the cover, it's this beautiful blue color, and then I don't know if you can see, in the very corner it says I love you, and at the bottom it says I know. And if you read the dust jacket, that is like the conversation between Hermione and Polly, so I think this is going to be just such a powerful book. Next, I have another book by E.K. Johnston, and that is That Inevitable Victorian Thing, which may be the most beautiful cover I have ever seen, or definitely one of them. And I don't know much about this one, except that it's kind of an alternate history where I think where England did not participate in imperialism and colonialism and taking over like half the known world or something. And there's like an arranged marriage. I think I've also heard that there is LGBT plus representation in this book, and it just sounds like such a fascinating take on historical fiction, and again, I'm really excited to read more by E.K. Johnston. Next, I have Foolish Hearts by Emma Mills. I have only read one other book by this author, and I kind of was disappointed, but this is the one about that involves like a play. I think they do a Shakespeare play, A Midsummer Night's Dream, and I've heard wonderful things about the characters and the relationships in this book, so I think that even though I'm not a huge fan of the other book I read by Emma Mills, I think that this one could be the one that changes my mind. And of course, like all of her hardcovers, the inside is just gorgeous as well. Next, I have Nemesis by Anna Banks, and for some reason when I got this book, I thought this was a similar setup to The Diabolic by S.J. Kincaid, with a character who is sort of a like cyborg or robot or something like that. I don't think that's actually true, but I still think I'm going to enjoy this one. It's science fiction, and I'm sorry, I'm reading the back as I talk because I'm really not sure how to describe it, but I think it's about a princess who is forced into the service of another kingdom, and I don't know if she has to try and take them down from the inside or what happens, but just the feeling I got from the back of this book, I was like, oh yeah, this is something I want to read. I also saw it recommended in, I can't remember whose video it is. I will put that information on the screen or in the description. But it was in the Underrated YA Books collaboration that I also participated in. I will also link that video in case you haven't seen it. It was organized by Girl Reading, and I love her channel too. Next, I have two sequels for series that I haven't started, but I kind of have a good excuse. I wasn't sure how long they were going to be on BookOutlet. I don't think there were very many copies of them, and they were definitely ones that I knew I would want to continue the series. So the first one is Not Now, Not Ever by Lily Anderson, and this is a companion sequel to The Only Thing Worse Than Me Is You, which is a Much Ado About Nothing retelling, and I can't believe I haven't read it yet. I think I'm like saving it because I'm so excited for it. And then the other one I have is Sacred Scars by Kathleen Dewey. This is the sequel to Skin Hunger, which as I said I have not read yet, but this is kind of described as a magical school or like a magical boarding school novel that is evil, or it's like very dark. So I have no idea how I'm going to feel about this series, but I have seen it praised very highly from people I trust, and that's definitely an eye-catching cover. And finally, the last item in my book outlet order is this gorgeous boxed set of the Wrinkle in Time Quintet by Madeleine L'Engle. Now I own the first 4 books, but they're really falling apart. Me and my sister reread them so much when we were younger, like those books are just really beat up and falling apart. So I was kind of on the lookout for new copies that I wouldn't have to worry about like disintegrating if I read them again. And they had this beautiful boxed edition, including An Acceptable Time, which I did not know was a companion in that series, and I've actually never read that book. So we have A Wrinkle in Time, A Wind in the Door, A Swiftly Tilting Planet, Many Waters, and An Acceptable Time. And I am just so looking forward to rereading the series. Actually, what sparked this desire to reread this series was the fact that when the movie came out, I saw a lot of people reading A Wrinkle in Time for the first time, or like rereading it for the first time as an adult, and not everybody, but I saw a few people who were like really condescending about it. Like they were saying like, oh, it's fine, I'm sure, if you're a kid, or you know, if you don't mind not having any depth in a book. It was so heavy-handed, and like the themes weren't anything special, and like all of this. And I can be a very contrary person, so that made me want to reignite my love for this series and pick up the first book again. From what I remember, I definitely don't agree with the criticism of those books that like they were obvious or heavy-handed, but anyway, really excited to have this lovely boxed set edition that I have not even taken the cellophane off yet. So I'm really excited to reread these soon. So that is everything in this kind of collective book haul. Let me know if you guys have read any of these books, what you thought of them. As you can tell, I'm very excited to get to all of these, which I guess should go without saying because I bought them. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will see you soon with another one, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!